Welcome to our discussion where we aim to demystify the global FX code for corporate users of FX. My name is Tom Jakes. I'm a research director at Coalition Greenwich, covering our corporate client intelligence products. I'm joined by a great panel whose current roles and backgrounds span central banks, FX trading, the Global FX Committee, and the corporate treasury community. With that, I would like to ask them to introduce themselves. Lisa, maybe start with you.
Yeah, sure. I'm Lisa Jukes. I'm a qualified treasurer and accountant, and over the last 20-something years, I've worked extensively in corporate finance, treasury, and derivatives, managing economics exposures and navigating various, seemingly endless market challenges. More recently, I co-founded Jukes & King, leveraging my experience in the corporate environment to support more organisations by focusing on innovation, optimization, and value creation in treasury, corporate finance, and risk management. I was invited over 4 years ago now to join as a member of the UK's FX Joint Standing Committee, which is chaired by the Bank of England, where I work closely with Natalie and team as a corporate representative. And for the last 2 to 3 years, I've served as the UK's private sector representative to the Global FX Committee. And in each one of those roles, I advocate for corporates, but also the wider buy side to embrace the FX Global Code of Conduct to benefit the broader financial community.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And moving on to you, Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Jeffries. My background is that I run currencies and emerging markets globally at JP Morgan. I've only ever worked at JP Morgan, so that's my only experience, but it's been 25 years in the emerging markets and the FX business. I'm also a member of the Bank of England FX Joint Standing Committee and also a board member of the GFXD. So also across a number of different FX bodies across the sort of global market.
Thanks, Steve. And finally, Natalie.
Thank you, Tom. Welcome, everyone. I'm a senior manager in the foreign exchange division at the Bank of England. My career has actually spanned over 20 years at the bank, and I've held a variety of financial markets and policy-focused roles. My involvement in Global Code is twofold. First, my team supports the Global FX Committee in maintaining and promoting the code, and we do this through the London FX JSC. I also co-chair the Global FX Committee's FX Settlement Risk Working Group, and we're in the process of updating the settlement risk sections of the code as part of its 3-year review. It's a pleasure to be taking part in this webinar today.
Thank you very much, Natalie. So the genesis for this is our 2023 corporate treasury study revealed a significant knowledge gap. More than half of the corporate treasurers we surveyed globally told us they were unfamiliar with the global FX code. Moreover, among those who were aware of the code, many claimed not to be active FX market participants, despite being responsible for managing their company's foreign exchange risks. These findings motivated us to arrange this conversation. So to start the discussion, Natalie, what is the global FX code?
Thanks, Tom. So the Global FX Code was developed back in 2017 by the Global FX Committee, or GFXC as it's typically referred to. Among other things, the GFXC provides a forum which promotes collaboration between central banks and private sector participants in the global FX market. Essentially, the code is a set of principles of best practice for all market participants, ranging from the very largest users of the FX market all the way to the very smallest. The code provides us a common set of guidelines to promote the integrity and effective functioning of the wholesale FX market. It's intended to promote a robust, fair, liquid, open, and appropriately transparent market in which a diverse set of market participants are able to transact confidently and effectively. It's really important to note that the code does not impose legal or regulatory obligations on market participants. Instead, participants in the wholesale FX market are encouraged to adopt and adhere to the code. Firms can demonstrate their recognition and commitment to the code by signing what's called a statement of commitment. This shows that they've taken steps to fully align their FX activities with best practice. The FX market is continually evolving. It is therefore important that the code remains fit for purpose and relevant. And to that end, a 3-year review of the code is currently underway and is due to complete by the end of this year. There are 2 key areas of focus for the review. The first is further mitigating FX settlement risk, and the second is enhancing FX data transparency. The proposed changes will be subject to a public consultation, which is due to launch in the coming days. In terms of code adoption, over 1,000 market participants have signed a statement of commitment. However, only a small portion of these are corporates. And we really hope that webinars like these can raise awareness and promote just how important the code is on the FX market. I will stop there, but hopefully that's provided you with a good overview of what the code is.
That's a great introduction. Thank you very much. To expand upon one of the points you made, so to turn to you, Lisa, why should corporates sign the code?
So to probably reiterate some of the things that Natalie just said, the FX code is designed to be relevant for a broad range of market participants. It recognises that everyone interacts with the market differently, offering a flexible framework that can adapt to varying levels of engagement as well as complexity. So whether you're a bank or a corporate treasury, the code applies to us all. It's important, again, to emphasise that the code doesn't impose additional legal or regulatory obligations. Instead, think of it as a benchmark for best practice. So adhering to the code is more than just another process. It's a clear demonstration of commitment to those principles, as well as to our own internal policies. It signals to stakeholders that we're serious about risk management, as well as transparency and integrity, particularly in the FX market. The code is also a valuable resource for staying up to date with market trends and best practices. The principles can easily integrate into your risk management policies. And since it's a free framework, it's accessible to everyone. In the long term, adhering to the code will help foster a fairer and more resilient marketplace, which will benefit all of us, including corporates, by creating a more predictable and reliable trading conditions within the FX market. Signing the code demonstrates a deeper commitment to governance, offering reassurance to boards, shareholders, and other stakeholders alike that robust governance structures are in place. And ultimately, embracing best practice is about safeguarding our interests and contributing to a fairer market environment, which in the long run, as corporates, makes our jobs a lot easier and it makes us look good at the same time.
Yeah, you make a compelling case there, Lisa, as to why corporates should be considering signing the Global FX Code as part of their strategic approach to FX. Natalie, do you have anything further you would like to add as to why corporates should sign the code?
Sure. I really just want to echo what Lisa has said, that all market participants, large and small, rely on the integrity and effective functioning of the FX market. It's therefore paramount that the code is adopted by a diverse and broad spectrum of firms, including corporates. One thing I really want to highlight is that it provides a tangible way of demonstrating to stakeholders that your firm is informed, responsible, and committed to transacting in line with best practice. I mean, it also puts buy-side firms on an equal footing with the sell side and can open up two-way conversations about best practices. From a central bank perspective, signing up to the code should be high on the agenda for all market participants. So if you've not done so already, we really encourage you all to engage with it.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Now, turning to you, Steve. We've talked about why corporates should sign the code. How does signing the code benefit corporates?
Well, I think the code in itself is beneficial for a number of reasons for all market participants. I think Lisa and Natalie have outlined some of that in their previous answers. I think that why did we get the code into existence? It's been sort of I guess a sort of decades long sort of iteration of where we were back in the early part of the last decade. Market practices were ill-defined, and I think we've sort of been on a long journey to create that level playing field to really understand how, as corporates or anyone interacting in the FX market, how they will be treated, and really add that deeper understanding of how exactly an FX trade happens, how it's treated, how it's sort of, into a little bit into the nuts and bolts of, some of the risk management, how any risk transfer, occurs, which, I think, that is certainly a benefit from the corporate side, more understanding of the governance models, within an FX business such as the one we run on the sell side. Going back to the fair and transparent interactions in the market, which I think is extremely important. FX is not just the rates that you see in some of the most liquid pairs in retail amounts. It goes deeper. It's larger tickets. How they're dealt with, more illiquid markets, where it's prices may not be readily available. There's a strong encouragement of ethical and professional behavior within, certainly on the sell side, on the asset management side, whoever signs up to the code. That is, sort of one of the trust areas that we find, that if you're transacting with someone who has signed to the code, then it's not a regulatory involvement, but it certainly is adds more confidence to how you'll be treated, how any trade is managed and booked. And one thing actually that I think is potentially important for corporate clients is that in the code, there is a discussion around confidentiality of information, which I think some of the corporates may be dealing with very large size transactions that may be more sensitive, potentially impactful for more than just the FX market, maybe equity type transactions. And there is certainly dealings of certainly detailing, how market participants should be handling such information. And I think that, that could be a critical point for corporates themselves, just making sure that the market interactions are very effective, and such that the corporates can really understand the FX market. I think it's important they understand the code and potentially sign up as well.
Very much so. And Lisa, with your position on so many committees, I'm interested in your perspective on the benefits as well.
Yeah, so for me, the key benefit in general for corporates is that the code enhances operational efficiencies and reduces risk through its focus on ethics, governance, and transparency. For those involved in FX, adhering to the code, it strengthens risk management and it fosters those better relationships with financial institutions, but also other counterparties. It provides a valuable framework for building or even refreshing risk management policies. By promoting professional behaviour, it reduces the risk of conflicts of interest and potentially malpractice, whilst at the same time supporting liquidity, price discovery, and execution quality. Integrating the code into your FX policies, it can be straightforward and it should fit into your existing review cycles. Plus, the code is updated every 3 years, as Natalie said, by market experts, which helps you stay current with evolving trends, with resources that you now have at hand. The code will also help corporates as they grow and evolve to help set areas for aspiration or improvement. It's also an excellent training tool for new members of the team, making sure that your team is fully equipped to manage the risks effectively and efficiently is key. I think it's key to note that it's not about adding more rules, it's about embedding best practice. And it's something that corporates are already likely doing and following already. From an ESG perspective, the code aligns with the governance aspect of ESG frameworks, helping to ensure that FX dealings reflect sound governance. As far as ESG is concerned, the code is the G in ESG. I think in short, adopting the code keeps you informed, It demonstrates a commitment to responsible risk management, and it signals to the board stakeholders that you're striving for best practices, not just maintaining the status quo, something that's really important as the market's developing and throwing so many challenges at us as it does. As the landscape evolves as well, the questions will start to shift from have you adopted the best practices to why haven't you adopted best practice? So I would encourage that everyone be on the front foot and start learning about the code and getting involved now.
Yeah, these are all great answers. I think we've definitely explored as to the benefits of the code and why corporates should consider signing it. But to return to our research findings, Steve, why do you think 20 to 30% of the corporates that we spoke to believe they're not market participants?
Well, when you said this to me, and this came as one of the questions, I was a little bit surprised that any corporate, and I presume this is 20-30% of any corporate that's done FX, not those that have never done FX before. Well, any corporate who's in fact any counterparty that's traded FX, in the interbank market or in the sort of professional market is a market participant for sure. They're certainly subject to all the handling of the flows and the risk management and the transfer of that of those currencies that all the others are. I think maybe potentially some sizes or the way that these counterparties may not be fully involved in all the daily sort of machinations of what's going on in FX. They may feel they're not updated onto the latest thinkings of what the FOMC is doing or what's going on with the China stimulus, and they may not be updated on a daily basis as to the reasons and why markets are moving, FX rates are moving. But when they need to access the market, when they need to hedge their risks, or they need to make salary payments in other countries, or repatriate some dividend from far across lands, then they have to do FX, and they certainly are a market participant, and they should feel as valuable and as special as any asset manager or a hedge fund who is regularly interacting with the market. I guess because they're not as professional, and that's in very much air quotes, that they may feel like they're not in the same bucket as some of the more frequent users.
Thank you, Steve. And having been a corporate treasurer, Lisa, why do you think this is the case?
I think awareness is still a challenge, although it is growing as more participants adopt the code and get involved. Unlike the sell side or larger buy side firms, as Steve mentioned, FX isn't always a primary focus for corporates. It's often a byproduct of our operations. Many corporates engage in FX markets infrequently and for operational purposes, which may lead them to think that the code doesn't apply. Others might see themselves as customers rather than market participants, but the code makes it clear that any entity interacting with the wholesale FX markets, no matter the frequency or size of transaction, is part of the wider FX ecosystem. And therefore, it's important to adopt best practices proportionately to their level of engagement in the market. If you're not ready to sign a statement of commitment, there are still many ways to engage with the code. Primarily, and most importantly, understanding it. It's a valuable resource for staying up to date with market trends. And as I've already said, the principles can be aligned with your risk management policies without adding complexity. I'd also encourage all corporates to hold their providers accountable. So whenever you interact with banks, brokers, or FX service providers, you should ensure that they are aligned with the code and that they have signed a statement of commitment, because it's in our best interests as corporates. We might not be in every day, but they are. When reviewing counterparties or doing RFPs, just make sure it's high on your checklist to ask them, and then have a look at it yourself as well.
Thanks very much, Lisa. I'd like to start exploring the resources available to clients. And let's start with the most obvious, Steve. Given your role at JP Morgan, why is it in banks' interest to educate their clients on the global FX code?
Yeah, look, I think in a bank's interest, I guess, would be to, bluntly, to increase flow. To encourage clients to hedge their FX or transact their FX, as much as really they can. And that's sort of the core philosophy, I guess. But within that, in order to get to know your client better and encourage flow from them, they need to understand how you're operating, how you're going to look after that client in the best possible way. And I think that as more corporates, in fact, any client or bank learns more about the code, I think that they should hopefully feel that the FX market is to use a modern phrase, is a little bit more of a safe space than it may have been in the past. I think that we have a lot of press out there, from decades past about rather sharp practices from some market participants, and frankly a lot of water has flowed under the bridge, and we've done all this work to really make FX markets and all markets really as efficient, as transparent, as clear, and as safe, as I mentioned, to the clients that we operate with. There should be more trust in what goes on, and again, we are talking about the FX global code, but really we should be thinking, certainly for corporate treasurers, that any product they interact with is dealt with in a very similar way. I think the code gives a level playing field. No banks should really be who've signed up to the code should really be offering different practices that don't comply. It gives more confidence to treasurers, to corporates, and maybe they'll feel that they are are more able to trust who they're dealing with, and therefore the flows may go up. And, generally promoting a high quality market with high quality professionals, making sure that clients really understand what they're doing. And I think that creating that environment, that healthy environment, means that clients and banks can really help to achieve good results on both sides.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. That clearly illustrates your commitment to delivering fair outcomes to your clients. So that covers the support that banks provide to their clients. I'd like to broaden this out a bit. So Lisa, what support and tools are available for corporate treasurers as they look to integrate the global code into their workflow?
Yeah, so there are now many resources to help corporates and others, to be honest, to both understand but also to benefit from the code. So in addition to the Global Foreign Exchange Committee website, which is the home of the FX Global Code, we've developed the Corporate FX Knowledge Hub, which can be found at fx-hub.org. And the Hub offers a community and a one-stop shop for all things FX, with resources and best practices tailored specifically to corporates or the corporate viewpoint. There's a dedicated section on the code to provide context, details, as well as encouragement to getting involved. On the site, you'll find a roadmap, case studies, and updates on market developments, with more content and support on the way. We're always adding things to the site. There's also support for integrating the code into existing risk management and treasury policies, making it part of your regular policy review cycle, which then supports ongoing compliance and provides a structured framework to demonstrate governance to stakeholders. And that's key. By embedding the code into your policies, it becomes part of how you operate and not an additional resource or something else that you're signing up to. It's really core to how you manage FX. I'd also recommend the digital proportionality tool. A link is available on the FX Knowledge Hub, which would take you to the GFXC website. It was developed by the GFXC, and it helps assess which principles of the code are relevant to your level of market engagement. So the tool will walk you through a decision tree, helping you identify which of the 55 principles apply to your operations, but also to how to implement them proportionately. And by doing that and using that tool, it helps to ensure that as corporates, we maintain the high standards in critical areas that are relevant for us without overburdening ourselves with unnecessary processes which are not in line with the way that we interact with the market.
Thank you very much, Lisa. It sounds really great that treasurers have come together to provide a set of resources for the industry to use to support decision making. So we're nearly at time. So in this discussion today, we've covered what the code is, why corporates should consider signing the code, the benefits to them, and the support available. That was a genuinely interesting discussion. Thank you all very much. So thank you, Lisa, Natalie, and Steve, for joining me, and thank you to the audience for listening to this discussion.